Good morning. Hey, mom. How are you?
Good morning, Brandy. Doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing good. So, welcome everybody who is tuning in to another episode of We Listen and We Judge. Today, we are talking about mental health. Woohoo! Or
Heavy
maybe
topic
woo.
today. A little heavy.
Yeah. So, I know this is a stranger topic pick for a lot of people. Most don't want to open up about the mental issues they might be going through, where they're emotional or, you know, maybe somebody has like anxiety or they're bipolar or they have just a family history of mental health and they don't want to touch it. But I do think this topic is important, and I think today I will be in the hot seat because we're going to figure out if I'm full crazy or half crazy.
I don't know that you're crazy at all.
What?
But
Okay, I do wanna bring this up. I'll never forget when I was younger, I guess I was tripping or something, and you was like, "I think you're schizophrenic." And I was like, "What does that even
did
mean?"
I call you schizophrenic or bipolar?
You said schizophrenic, and I
Oh, my
was just
bad.
like, "Oh my gosh, that means, like, I have multiple different personalities to, like, escape from reality." I think that's kinda what schizophrenic is, and as I get older, I'll never forget that because, like, sometimes I'm thinking to myself, "Am I trying to escape my reality?" I don't have a bad reality, but sometimes my reality is not what I want it to be. So, do I create scenarios in my head, especially when it comes to dating? I started to realize, like, I already plan out the life we might can have. So, I don't necessarily think you were too far off. Like, I don't think I'm, like, full on schizophrenic, but there is something there that I'm trying to work through in therapy.
Well, my apologies for calling you schizophrenic. You're not schizophrenic. But when you talked about planning out the life that you want to have, I read something that talked about people living in the future can sometimes cause anxiety, and you have to try to live in the present. And
Mhm.
that adds a lot of unnecessary stress or distress when you're futuring all the time. You miss the good things that's happening in the present. So that can play a part in mental health issues.
Yeah, because I have very high anxiety to the point where I was prescribed Prozac at one point in time, and I didn't ever take it. I just, like, talked to you, Auntie Aria, about, the pros and cons of it, and I realized, like, it could be something I can work through and try to actively just be present in the moment and, realize my emotions. Cause I have those days where I just don't want to get out of bed. And that's where the depression kind of came in. But I think I've gotten over that hump for sure, but I don't know if the anxiety will ever go away. And we'll go a little bit into it more, but this was a topic that you picked. So I wanted you to open up about why you wanted to speak about mental health.
I did pick it. The reason I picked it because I have found you and I talking a lot about therapy, and it's something that in our family or in our community even that is really not a topic. We don't go to therapy over issues, and I think in our last episode about friendship, we even talked about how we don't call things out. We just kind of dap it up and keep it moving. And so I wanted to take a deeper dive into mental health to see how we can contribute to helping with anxiety, depression, things like that, how we can help you as well, not just the therapist, but us supporting that and not being dismissive of you saying, I feel this way and I've talked to the therapist and we're like, oh, you'll be all right. Well, that's actually making things worse. And so I
Yeah.
I did a study. I did some research in fact, and I wanted to talk about it. So I'll let you know that I hear you now. And I feel like in the past I've been very dismissive, and I apologize for that. So one of the things that I found out when I was doing a little bit of research is that 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience some type of mental health problem or illness during the course of a year. And not only that, but the number one most common mental health issue is depression. And then after that, anxiety. And I think over the past when you and I have talked several times and I try to like pep talk you through it, I think depression and anxiety probably were your top 2, in fact, and it's actually the most common. Those 2 are the most common, with depression being the most common. And I know
Mm,
my responses in the past, now that I've done this research, were not good. I thought I was helping by saying, you're a Campbell, a Cooper, you have that Campbell Cooper bloodline. You'll be okay. Like, we're always okay. We bounce back. Just give it some time, this, that, and the third. And that really wasn't helping. I should have gave you a chance to really feel how you feel. And my response should have been, I understand. Let's talk
mhm,
about what I can do to make that better. So that's why I picked this topic, because I felt like now that we do have a platform where we are listening to one another, I want to listen to you, because I did not listen in the past. And I am one of those people that when I finally figure out that I'm wrong, I can't say my bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. I will
yeah,
apologize for mistakes, but
yeah,
sometimes I think I'm right. And so it takes me a while to realize that I was not right. And so that's why I wanted to broach this topic today.
yeah. I appreciate that, I really do. I feel like I made peace with it, though. I coulda just been like, "Well, they're saying I'm making things up in my head and not got the help," but then I also dug deep and realized, like, at one point in time, I wanted to be a psychiatrist, so why would I be against actually going to, a psychiatrist? I feel like my core is, how can I get better? How can I improve? So I think even if I didn't have, like, necessarily depression and anxiety, I still might go to therapy just because I feel it's important to get maybe an unbiased opinion a lot of times to see, where you're at, what you can work on. And in my head, if I go to the gym to help my physical body, I can go talk to somebody to help my mental. And that's just how I've approached it now. And I love my therapist. Like, I would love for him to come on the pod too, Dr. Wilkerson. I done recommended him to multiple people at work too, since he's through Spring Health. So he might get, a couple more customers. But I think actually having that relationship with somebody that doesn't necessarily, like, know me from when I was a child to now an adult has helped a lot. And a lot of times I go in there and I'm just like, "Well, I was wrong. Well, I was wrong." And he showed me that I'm not necessarily wrong for feeling how I feel, but there's ways to go about it that will make you better. Sometimes I go about things the wrong way. That's kinda where I was at last episode about the friendship. I was going about things the wrong way, and so I really appreciate those conversations with him too.
Yeah.
But I think I wanna talk a little bit about, like, how I got to the depression and the anxiety, because it does parlay into another topic that I think we can touch on a little bit, but I say, like, I hate to be braggadocious, but we had an amazing childhood. Shout out to you and dad. Y'all did your 1, 2. Y'all make sure we had a great childhood, like summer camps, all-star cheerleading, sports, actually, like, going different places inside the US, outside of the US. I feel like it made me a more cultured person, and that's kinda where I got my empathy and my compassion for. It's like seeing the world, seeing how people live, bad and good, and then where I wanna be in life. So that helped me a lot. And having a good childhood where you, like, can just go outside, swim in the pool, and feel life and put your feet in the grass and feel the earth and just not have to worry about things. Like, you don't have to worry about if your parents gonna have enough money to eat, and you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, or can I get new clothes? Can I get new shoes? Will I be able to afford the things that are basic in life? That helped a lot. But then when you get out in the real world, you realize, like, it's very harsh. Now, I used to get picked on a lot in school about, I guess, a little bit of the privilege. And not to say we're just, like, super rich and, we balling out of control, but y'all did afford a good life for us that many people don't have, even, like, going to school too. So everybody's like, "Oh, you're not gonna have any street sense and everybody's gonna be able to run all over you and you're gonna do like it was even grown women telling me, "Oh, you need to just date now before you get out there and make all these mistakes and get pregnant," and I'm just like, okay, one thing about Brandy Simone Cooper, nobody can trick me out of my spot, period. It don't matter if I'm green, blue, or red, you are not gonna put me in a position that makes my life worse. If anybody gonna do that, it's gonna be me, okay? And I just wanna make that clear. So, hearing all those things, I was just like, "Whatever, I'm going to do what I gotta do." And I'll say to this day, I did what I had to do. Now, the storm I went through to get here is not what I imagined. And I don't know if I prepare myself fully for how much other people can affect your mental health. But I can say, like, I got through it. I'm on the other side. I'm trying to find what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I make good enough money to where I'm not worried about my next meal, can afford a place where I can even have a guest now and not be like, "Well, girl, you gotta stay at the hotel." 'Cause but, we moved up to the spare room part of life, so and the next will be a house. So I feel like even though I went through some things throughout college and even adulthood, I still was able to take those core values that you guys raised us up in and make the life that I want. But I would say, like, a big part of my depression was relationships. And I do still want to find that one person, but I'm okay if I don't. And people who know me, like, intimately, like you, Daddy, Daniel, aunties, they know that one person that kind of ruined it for everybody. And I don't want to cry, but I would say, like, because recently that person still reached out even after Daddy threatened to him after calling the police. He still can't let it go. I was like, I've moved on, I've healed, I forgave that person, and if they're ever watching, like, just let it die. I've forgiven you, do your life, move on. But I think that changed a little bit of who I am, and I'm still trying to work on that too, so.
Yeah. That was a difficult time. As a parent, you don't ever wanna see your child going through something like that where they are feeling unsafe,
Mhm,
where you always having to look over your shoulder and make sure you're not being stalked or just we were too far away to feel comfortable
mhm,
with what was going on with that situation, and so you're right. I mean, part of healing is forgiveness, and
mhm,
it's very hard to heal if you don't forgive people for things that they do. Thinking about my childhood, we were not rich, but my parents were very smart with their
mhm,
money, and I think we tried to pattern ourselves after the same as we were growing up. People would say, "Oh, those Campbell girls think they all that. They think they rich." Actually, we didn't think we were rich, and in fact, we would get our tennis shoes from Roses when Roses existed in Statesboro, and, you get picked on for not having name brand. I think I got my first pair of name brand tennis shoes when I played basketball in high school, but that's
right,
because we all had the team order. But we didn't let that stuff bother us, and I talked about trying not to live in the future and living in the present. But it's not always a bad thing to have plans for the future. You don't wanna
mhm,
stay in the future so much that you're anxious and you have a lot of anxiety and you can't really enjoy moments that's happening in the present. But it's okay to lay out a plan for what you want your life to look like. And I decided then when I was younger, despite the name calling, the picking on, things like that, I decided what I wanted the future to look like. And then I let everyday steps be what they were. And I don't know if it's just the strong sense of family love that got us through it, but we didn't let that stuff bother us. It almost was like it didn't matter what people
mhm,
said. Like, so kinda like you and Daniel, even though we didn't have a lot of luxury and we weren't able to do a whole pile of things, the things we were able to do, we cherished them and we enjoyed them. I can remember one Christmas where daddy took our old bicycles and painted them and made them really nice again, got new
Aw,
tires, put new tubes in them, and we were so excited. We knew they were our
shout
old
out to
bicycles.
grandpa.
Yeah, shout out to granddad. But we knew they were our old bicycles, but we were okay with that. We didn't have to have all of the Christmas gifts and the big things, and I think once y'all got a little older, we treated you the same way, like, we would send y'all a cash app or give you money, but we didn't buy a whole lot of presents because we felt like everyday life is a present and a gift,
Mhm.
and you don't want, like, one event to rule your whole year, and you can save so much money if you don't throw it away on things that's gonna be thrown in a corner
Right.
before winter is over even. So think the mental health topic was really important to me because I had to think back to how did we survive some of the same things that you experienced, and I go back to just that strong family unit, and so we didn't see the value in the therapy. And now that I've taken a step back and did a little bit of research on mental health, and I feel like everybody's right. Like, it's okay if you feel like your family unit is strong enough to pull you through depression and hard times, and it's also okay to see a therapist and talk through your issues and get professional help. And I say to anyone who feel like they're not functioning to their full capabilities because of mental health, do seek out help. See a therapist if you need to. If you don't have that ability to cope or those around you who can help you cope. And a lot of times those around you don't know what to do because they're not trained to deal
Right.
with mental issues. It's okay to seek out therapy. And there's different ways if you have financial issues where you can't afford it, then there are some resources and people who are put in place to help with those who may struggle financially. And for those of you who do have good health insurance, there are plans on your health insurance to actually seek out therapy.
So, HR plug here. Most of the time, if you work for a corporation, a business that is at least a little bit well known, there's an employee assistance program. And 9 times out of the 10, they will give you at least up to 5 free sessions of therapy. At my current job, we actually get 8 free sessions a year. So I've actually used all 8 of them. And now I'm about to go into the part where I have to pay for it. And it's only $25 a session with my insurance. So I think a lot of times, even the jobs are realizing like, our people, if they're not in the right mindset, they can't show up to work and do what they need to do. And I think if your job is not there, they need to get there because a lot of times people cannot be their best self if they're not in the mental capacity to take on more. Like every day, you're dealing with your own emotions and then you have other people's emotions
Yeah.
mixed into that. So when you go through life, you have to be like aware of that. And if you're not, you could be coming off a certain way. Like that could be a big reason why people have so many issues. It's just because they're not emotionally intelligent. And that's something I do want to speak on. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've been working on my emotional intelligence very carefully. For the most part, I have been aware of my emotions and how I feel, but I do say there's times where I kind of see red and I realize like I'm letting the little things get me angry. And as you talked about growing up, you were picked on. I was too, but for different reasons. It was times where people were picking on me because they felt like I dressed too nice. And it sounds stupid. People are gonna say, "Oh, you're lying," but no, that's a fact. I would never make something up like that. Looking back though, I do appreciate those conversations we had because I can remember, like, in the car, we were talking about it, and I was probably in the 8th grade or maybe 7th, one of those grades. I just felt like every time I turn around, somebody's just picking at something, and I learned to, fight back with my words. I really did. I learned how to be shady and
Your
don't
Auntie
let
Shanna is
somebody
the master of that.
don't let somebody, come at me. As grandma would say, nice nasty. I learned that very well. And, even to this day, I gotta use it. So
Yeah, shout out to
But
my older sister for teaching us all how to fight with words. Because the
yeah,
little ones, we used to like to fight instead of fight with words.
yeah. I know. It's like we're the total opposites because I never fight. Like physical violence, no, can't do it. I have no reason to be putting my hands on anybody. But I do know how to use my words. And I got tired of people just coming at me relentlessly about stupid things like, and now that I look back at it, and I said this to myself, and it sounds a little bit arrogant, but I know that I don't know how I would be if I grew up with parents that didn't do well for themselves, who didn't provide nice things in life, who didn't provide opportunities. So I try to say, I guess from a more empathetic standpoint, would I be like that if I was in a destitute situation? And I think realistically, as a kid, when you see somebody having nice stuff and you don't, and you're not able to do much, you have to scrounge for lunch. You're on, the assistance program where your lunch is free because your parents don't make enough. You don't understand those things. You don't understand why you're struggling. You don't understand why some people have nice things and some people don't. So you either go to the anger, you either go to the sadness, or you either go, some people are okay with it. Some people's parents talk to them and have conversations, but if you don't have those conversations and you see like different walks of life, it can cause you to act out. I think that's another thing we need to start looking at. Like there's counseling in schools, but do the counselors really be counseling? Eh, no shade, but I think we do need to talk more to kids about, you know, class and the different breakdowns of it because I do think it also causes bullying. Like, no, we shouldn't even pick on somebody just because they can't buy Jordans or they can't buy Nikes. And then some of y'all's parents will buy you Jordans, but then you can't really pay for the school field trip. So you got to stay back. Like,
Well, I wanna weigh in for a second. I don't know that all of it is really economic, but it might be poverty of spirit.
yeah, that too.
Sometimes people just need to get connected to Jesus because
The devil is busy.
how you treat people sometimes is just because not having a spiritual connection and an ability to heal from things that you can't control. They can't control their financial, the financial situation of their family or their parents, but you
Right.
can control how you treat people.
Right.
And I feel like that goes back to what I was saying about making a plan for what you want life to look like without living in the future, but preparing for the future. And what a lot of people don't realize is everything that you do every day is something that will impact you later. It's just about choices. It's like when we talked about B is for budget. The choices you make can have a very strong impact on what happens later in life. So for those kids who bully or are picking because they feel like their own situation is dire compared to somebody else's situation, I feel like that still doesn't have to be the case. Even if there's an economic issue in your family,
Mhm.
poverty in spirit to me is way more impactful than physical
Mhm.
poverty.
I agree with that because there are also kids who have a lot of money, but they are still, bullying because their
Correct.
parents don't give them emotional support that they need.
Correct.
I even think like, and we were talking about this a little bit, like when people have a lot of siblings, also they might not get the amount of attention they need from their parents, and that can cause some issues too mentally. Like you feel like you're deprived from the love that you really need because your parents are kind of spread thin. So I think there's a lot of things that can, cause kids to be in those situations where they're mad and angry and sad. And I just only say that about the economic part of it because I know like in 2020 it was a struggle. I was a college graduate looking for a job, started working at Waffle House to become a unit manager. That's where I learned that I really love to cook too. I actually enjoyed that part of it. And people don't believe it because if you also know my personality, like I said, I'm not a fighter. And everybody believes like one of the job description qualifications for working at Waffle House is you have to be able to fight. But, I made it through. I did what I had to do until the pandemic happened. And then they started laying people off because you only needed like half the restaurant and you're only doing to go orders and people aren't going outside. So then I'm like really struggling trying to find another job and I applied to be a manager at Amazon. I don't get the job for manager, so I get a regular like stow job for $17 an hour. I just got this degree, this very expensive degree from Kennesaw State, go Owls, but it's not getting me a job because I am a new graduate. There's not a lot of entry level positions just because COVID happened. And I know that made me sad. That kind of put me a little bit into depression, but then I realized like, I actually got in a relationship around the same time. And that time we were happy and, he was a lot better. That was the first relationship I had since the instant with the other guy who kind of did crazy stuff. So 4 years later, I found someone new, and that helped for a minute. Like it was a really good. I would say that showed me that there is a possibility to love and love right. Now it didn't end great, but we gonna say at the time that's what I needed while I was broke.
Like me and Auntie Russell say, we ride for whoever you riding for. You stop
Yeah.
riding, we stop riding.
Yeah, when I was broke, that's what I needed because I was like, about to lose my mind, not being able to, you know, make the money I really wanted to make to do the things I wanted to do. But luckily at Amazon, you had a chance to work overtime. And one thing about me, regardless of what people think, I am a hard worker. I will put in the work. If I need X amount of hours to make X amount of dollars, I'm going to do it and I'm going to be number one. I don't like being bad at things. I'm always going to try to be the best at what I can do. So consistently every night, I was number one on my team. Then they started putting me like in other indirect roles and I would help like my manager and we went from like the worst team ever to like the number one team on the floor. So then they were looking at trying to make me like the assistant for her. But something happened and I got to another position called pick, got there, was number one consistently. The new manager, she was great. Shout out to Destiny. We still follow each other on Instagram. She always looking fly and doing her thing. So, I appreciate her. And she helped me get into HR. So if it wasn't for Ashley getting with like a young black manager who saw like, hey girl, I see you. You out here doing your thing. You making me look good. I'll put your name in the hat and let them know you're a great worker. And from there, I've been in human resources ever since. So, and after that little stint, I finally got the money that I wanted, but then my relationship went downhill. And we broke up. It was probably for the best because, we had differences. But I would say that's the first person I ever actually fell in love with. So it caused me to go into the little bit of depression, so much to I gained like about 40 pounds. And now we are out of the depression and back on track. So that's why I wanted to kind of go into that because I know like money can not having money can make you sad. Well, specifically for me, not having money makes me sad. As you also told me, I was an expensive child and I'm now an expensive adult. So I have to have money.
But one of the treatments for people who are suffering from depression or anxiety or different mental health issues is regular exercise. When I
Hmm.
was doing a little bit of research, I saw where regular exercise, a healthy diet, and getting enough sleep could all play a role in helping with getting your mental health back on track. And
Hmm.
those things are important anyway. When we talked about health is wealth is health, I feel like those are the key to just a healthy and happy life anyway.
Right. I 100% agree. And now that I'm doing it and I'm walking in it, I feel amazing. I have my sad days. I have my days where I'm just annoyed and feel like nobody listens to me. But then I'm like, you know what? It's going to be okay. let me give it some time. And things do turn around. I'm starting to realize like everything doesn't have to be exactly the way I want it when I want it. Because I also realize I'm a little spoiled, I'm a little bratty. So I have to work through those things and just realize like life is life. You're going to go through it, you're going to feel it. It's okay if everything's not sunshine and rainbows. I guess I'm still chasing some of those feelings that I had when I was a child, and I've learned to create that for myself without money too. I've realized like if everything has to be super expensive and bling bling bling, I'm never gonna be happy because I ain't there yet. Like I had to stop being a little delusional as well.
And being
What?
more flexible. Like, one of
Yeah.
my good friends had a sign up that said, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not get bent out of shape." I think
Mhm.
that plays a role in healthy mentality as well, just being flexible.
Mhm. Yeah. But I just think the most important thing I have to realize is like not to let somebody else affect how I'm feeling about myself. Because there was a time where I did not feel good about myself just because of what somebody else did to me and what somebody else said to me. And that ties back to the relationship thing. And I know October is also domestic violence awareness. And I just want to touch on it a little bit because, like, we don't realize how much people are going through abusive situations with their partners, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional and verbal, or whether it's physical. There are a lot of women and men that are going through abusive situations that's affecting their mental health. So they might be acting out at work and um coming like showing up in a very awkward place. I kind of start actually seeing the signs too of when somebody might be going through some type of abusive situations. And it was crazy because in the past I worked somewhere and I felt like this woman was going through it and somebody actually confirmed it like later to me, and I was like, "Yeah, I kinda picked up on that." And I just try to make myself aware of it because I know a little bit about it. Like, I've never been physically abused at all, but I've been through it where a man tried to put me down, basically, make me feel less than and just, "Oh, I don't have it like this. Your parents do everything for you where I'm struggling," and then I can never forget we were in the car and I just get called for a job interview and he didn't talk to me for like the whole time. Mind you, we're on the way to church. We about to go see Jesus and you acting like the devil. It's crazy, but you're just like talking to all my family and still ignoring me. And it took me like bawling, crying for him to actually say something. It's like, you always get opportunities and I get nothing. And at that point, I should have left him where he was at, but I didn't. It took me like maybe 6 more weeks to finally leave because I realized, like, okay, if I really love myself, I cannot let somebody put me through this. But, when you're young, you kinda see things like, well, maybe this is how it's supposed to go. And then at that point, I realized, like, no, this is not how it's supposed to go.
Well, we all knew that is not how it's supposed to go, and we were all ready to ride to Kennesaw. Auntie Russell was coming to pick me up. We was getting ready to come.
Yeah. Auntie Ressa was like, "What's I need to put a hit out?" I was like, "Oh, Lord, people really do that?" But
She
I
probably
guess
was gonna
people
do it
really do.
herself.
Yeah, I guess people really do. And then, yeah, Daniel too, I'm like, "Oh, Lord," you already know he be trying to fake YN, so I'm like, "No, like, it's okay. We'll get through it." And
But
I
when you're
think
so far
also
from
it.
your family, I'm sorry, when you're far from your family only know what you tell them, and they don't
Mhm,
wanna see or hear that you're suffering.
mhm,
And so we all had good intentions, but we wanted that suffering to end. And
right.
so, yeah.
And I didn't really even talk about it until it was over, and that's the craziest part. It wasn't until, like, we broke up around October of 2016, and then in December, he wanted to meet, have lunch, and just check up as friends. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, like, what's up?" We talked. He's like, "Okay, I'm ready to get back together." I'm like, "No, I told you we'll never get back together. Like, what do you think this is? Like, this isn't a movie. This is real life." And after that, he just went ballistic and would not stop.
Yeah.
So And I just appreciate everybody. Like, I remember Sierra also, she was a freshman, and I hate that, she had to be around any of that either, but she was there, you know, talking with me, just making sure I'm okay too, because he just would not stop. Like, I was embarrassed. I'm at work, working at TJ Maxx, trying to, work the register, and you just rolling up. And my manager, I have to tell her, like, hey, like, I've asked this guy to stop, trying to contact me and he's just showing up. So she even had to tell him to leave me alone. And I appreciate Miss Daphne for that. I'll never forget that. Like, she immediately she saw my eyes, she saw the fear, and she just went into action. So I
Yeah,
think when you speak up for yourself and you let somebody know that something's not right with you, those who love you will do what they gotta do. And that's not even with just like any type of domestic situation. That's just like even if you're going through it. I know, like, when women have babies, postpartum depression that comes into, you lose your job, when you lose a parent, lose a spouse, all those things can cause people to go into a spot of depression or anxiety or just kind of lose themselves. So we just have to make sure to be there for people and also help them get to where they want to be.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really do appreciate this episode. I feel like in itself it's kind of healing, and I hope it resonates with anybody that's going through it. Like, just seeing also my friends like talk about their own journeys and saying like, "Hey, like, what therapy place do you recommend?" And I'm like, "Yeah, use Spring Health, use Talkspace, use BetterHelp. Like, all those are different, online systems that you can go to." I always did want to go like to the in-person therapist though and sit on the couch, but I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to do that. Maybe one day, but I still appreciate like my Zoom calls with Dr. Wilkerson.
Yeah. I'm one that probably will never see a therapist, but that doesn't mean that I don't have challenges. I
Right.
think I'm what and I was talking to a good friend one day, and she said something that I had never thought about in words that I've never used before until I talked to her, but she said, "Dr. Cooper, you're a self-healer."
Mhm.
And I realize I do spend a lot of time riding for others and trying to help them. But when I have a situation, I usually don't reach out to others. And so
Mhm.
that made so much sense what she said. I mean, I did like last episode, I said, if it gets really heavy, then I'll call my sisters. But I really am. I'm a self healer. I find ways to just get over things. And maybe that's not always the healthiest way to go about things, but I
Yeah.
don't dwell on it. Um, I'm really strong in who I am. It's really hard for somebody to convince me otherwise. Not that I'm arrogant, but I'm just real confident in who I
Mhm.
am. And I don't look at material things. I don't look at the outside. To me, it's all about what's in your heart, how you treat people. So it's very hard to beat me up with external or material type things and me jump at it or
Yeah.
take it seriously or letting it make me feel any type of way about myself. It doesn't. I'm really confident in who I am and what I mean to people and what I don't mean to people, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm. I think the one thing I can say I really appreciate that you taught me as a child was to love myself outside of my looks and outside of what everybody else says. And it comes off a little bit of like self-absorbed. And sometimes I could ask people more for their opinion or what they think, but I think I needed that because there was a time where I was going to be one of those kids that was like trying to kill themselves if I did not learn to love myself outside of what was the looks. Because I was getting into those crowds where like, oh, my friend's really pretty. Everybody thinks she's gorgeous, and everybody's like, you're a giraffe. You're too tall. You're too dark. You're this and that. And I could have been like super insecure and super self-depreciated. But we had, like I said, I'll never forget in 8th grade, we had that talk and that reshaped my whole life. And I think more girls, especially dark-skinned brown girls, need to hear that and learn to love themselves outside of what they look like. If you are depending on your looks for everything, you will be on that surgery table. You'll be doing all this crazy stuff. Like, that's insane to me. Like, of course, I want to look good, but I don't want to change who I am to look good. And those who like how I look will find me, and those who don't can find somebody else. It's okay.
Yeah,
Like,
that remind me of when I wear the two-strand twist, my
yeah,
mother-in-law says I look like a little girl, but it's helpful for me because I can get up on time and it
yeah,
didn't take a lot of time to get ready for work. I just mist my hair and keep it moving, and now that I have the silk press, like, it takes a lot of time to get out the house. It's
yeah.
just so you can't worry about what others think or say about you because that will cause you to do things that's not conducive to what you need. And that's
Mm,
where depression and anxiety can come in is trying to please everybody. And as a matter of fact, talking about trying to please everybody, that's going to be a part of my listening to on today's episode.
yeah. I was a bad people pleaser, real bad at one point in time, and you told me like you gotta stop because this isn't even who we are. Like I was just one of those that's trying to like be so like and then I guess now I'm on the opposite end. I really don't care too much.
I
You
mean,
be like, "Well,
take it or
what
leave it.
about
Last
this?" And I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care. I guess I gotta find them, like we've talked about in therapy. I gotta find the gray because I'm very much one end or the other. So I'm trying to meet in the middle eventually. This was a great conversation. I feel a lot better, hearing the support. And I know you guys always supported everything I do, regardless of if you give your opinions. This is why we listen and we judge, because we are judgmental in the Cooper household, but we all have our own minds and we respect each other's opinions. So I appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
And now we're going into judging you. And this one is pretty cool. It's a little bit on a lighter note. Somebody reached out to me about Puerto Rico. We went back in 20.
Were you like 11 or 12 maybe?
Yeah, 11 or 12. So maybe 2008, 2009. We went to San Juan. I think it was really cool. That was our first time on a plane, actually. Like the
Really?
first time. Yeah.
I
First
thought
time
we went to Baltimore to Auntie Ariel's
we
graduation from
drove
pharmacy
though.
school. No, we flew. Southwest, I'll never forget.
I thought that was
That was your first
after.
time flying out of the US. Well, Puerto Rico is a territory of the US, but that was the first time flying to an island.
But when I thought Auntie Aria graduated after that trip though. Cause
Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I think
Maybe.
so.
You might be
Yeah.
right.
That was the first flight for sure. I know for
Oh,
sure it
okay.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Your
that's
first flight. I confuse it because that
yeah.
wasn't my first flight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my first flight was to San Juan. Y'all had flew. Yeah, I remember y'all used to leave us with grandma, but it's cool though, because grandma's house was nice.
Grandma can cook.
Yeah, grandma has a really nice house, enough for everybody to have their own room, and the food always good. She even got that booth that's like a diner, so we just be sitting there chopping it up. It's very lovely. Everybody should hate because I have the best grandma ever. I asked her to be on this podcast. She was like, "You better have the topics ready." I was like, "Dang, grandma."
Grandma's full of wisdom. So is grandpa, though.
Yeah, but so I think Puerto Rico is a nice, city. Like I told the person, Old San Juan is really nice, and they have like a mountaintop restaurant that's also pretty cool. So if you can check that out, anybody watching who's thinking about going to Puerto Rico, I think it is a great trip. I know they have other sides of the island too that's really nice, but I think you'll have a good time in Puerto Rico. And if you're into history, they have an amazing fort that was very historical in one of the wars. I can't remember at this time, but if you would ask me maybe 10 years ago, I probably couldn't tell you, but it's been like 17 years. So,
We stayed at
and
the Grand Malia.
yeah, we stay there, but it's not open anymore because I
I
was looking.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking to see to go back, and it's not open anymore. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I know they went through a hard time with one of the hurricanes, so a lot of the places got hit up and maybe never open, but They have really nice Airbnbs too. Like I said, I was thinking about going back since it's been so long, but I do think it's a really nice city. And I can also remember that a lot of their um buildings were made out of marble, and they said the marble came from Georgia. And we were like, "Hey, we're from Georgia." So I thought that was pretty cool. And also, there's a part of the town with really nice shops, so if you're into luxury brands like Gucci, Chanel, all those, they have that in Puerto Rico too.
Yeah.
So that's what I can say about that, judging you. You have any more thoughts on Puerto Rico?
It was a lot of rain, I can remember, because I slid straight across the lobby of the hotel of the hotel. My sisters and I had just gotten off the golf cart because I don't even know why we were going to the hotel lobby. I think we were going to get something, and I had on flip-flops, and it was raining, like, really heavy, and we were
Yeah.
running to get under the shelter, and I just slid straight across like
Yeah.
Superman. Yeah, so that's what I remember about Puerto Rico, but I also remember the beaches were really nice, and I think you and Daniel were able to get some coconuts and just
Mhm. Yeah, I remember those pictures.
yeah, it was fun. We went with, my mom and dad. My grandma was able to go when she was alive, Miss Grandma
Mhm.
Sally. She was an awesome person. Now Grandma Sally woulda came on the pod. She always has
Mhm.
a lot of words of wisdom, and in fact, that's where we got a lot of our wisdom from.
Yeah,
But
she would
my
have
grandma
said
was able to go, and my sisters and their spouses and children, so it was a big family vacay. We had a really good time, but I can remember Puerto Rico being a little expensive, but it was a good time.
yeah, Grandma Sally would have said a couple of times by now, God don't like ugly and he ain't too fond of pretty.
That's one of our faves.
Yeah. But, so next is listening to, and you say you got something, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, just in I can't remember what I was responding to a few minutes ago that you said, but I felt like it played others' opinions and people
Mhm.
pleasing. So, a good friend of mine sent me a podcast about leadership, and it was some different series, and she sent it to me because I always say, "If we love people, we'll tell them the truth," and so
Right.
it was just affirming. So, the one that I recently listened to in this leadership series is called Blind Spots That Destroy Teams, and the whole podcast is a leadership podcast by a guy called Craig Groeschel. And he was talking about if we care about people, we'll tell them the truth, basically. He said that when you tolerate underperformance, you give people permission to do whatever, and it lowers the bar, basically. And
Preach.
then the high performers tend to get agitated and either leave the organization or become negative when at one time they were high performing and a light to the organization. And he said that when you do, people who do this are people pleasers, and they generally do have a good heart, and their heart is in the right place. But in efforts to keep everybody happy, they often actually have the opposite effect. And who ends up the most unhappy are those who are really working hard to keep the organization afloat.
Afloat. Mhm. Yeah.
So that spoke to my spirit,
Same.
because I am one of those people who I am very direct, and sometimes people think that I'm being mean when in fact I'm not. I'm just
Mm-mm.
trying to be honest, and I like for people to be honest with me even if I don't like it. Like, and sometimes I don't like it, but I can take it because I'm very thick-skinned. If you tell me something, I say, "Okay," and sometimes I think about it later, just like this thing with mental health. I took the time to think about it later, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've been going about this all wrong as a parent. I need to do some more research, and I need to figure out how to be more supportive, because just because that's not my testimony, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't learn more and have a better approach when I'm dealing with my children." And so
Mhm.
this podcast to me, kind of tied into what we're talking about with mental health, because I feel like people pleasing can sometimes cause you anxiety as well. And when you're
Mm.
trying to make everybody happy, sometimes you end up not making anybody happy. And one thing that Craig Groeschel, a term that he used that I really like is when you don't correct behaviors and give appropriate feedback to help people grow and do better, you do something that he called sanctioned incompetence. So you're sanctioning those behaviors, and that often creates a culture where underperformance is okay,
Mhm.
and, underperformance is not okay. Now, do I say berate people and go off and talk crazy? No, you have to find the right way to be honest. And some people talk about the sandwich method, but I don't think you should always do
Mm-mm.
that. If there's not
No.
something positive to talk about, don't make it up. Just be
Right.
honest about what's going on and give good feedback on how to improve. And even say things like, I love you so much that Imma come in here and I'm gonna help you do it. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna model for you. You watch me, and then I'll watch you, and then we'll see what the differences were in the performance and how it made things flow. So I feel like modeling expectations and being what you desire can help with that, as opposed to sandwiching and saying this was great when it really wasn't. And then
Right.
telling somebody what they need to grow on. I think just let's get to the point.
We talk about sandwiching a lot and how it's so wrong it is because it confuses people. Like, if you need to talk to them about negative behavior, then you keep it about that negative behavior, how to correct it, how to move forward, how to follow up. If you want to give them praise, then you keep it about that praise. But it can't be like, hey girl, you look so cute today, but you messed up on all the quarterfinals and we got to restart and you don't even know how to crunch numbers. But I love your outfit. Like, that sounds crazy. What is the point? Like, we need to let the main thing be the main thing,
Keeping the
and
main
that's
thing
just
the main thing,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that's exactly what it has to be. So, I appreciate hearing that because woo child.
Well, that's a good podcast. He has several different series within that leadership podcast, but his name is Craig Rochelle, so check him out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to listen to that, and I'll have to, get a couple people too as well. No shade, but so what I'm listening to is Vacancy by Ari Lennox. She dropped a new song, and I love Ari Lennox. I actually think she's the perfect person to highlight right now because she also is very open about her mental health struggles. You know, as a singer, she wasn't necessarily looking for fame and fortune. I think she just really likes to sing and make music. So the internet kinda got to her, it's kinda affected her career, and she kinda gets a lot of heat just for being open about herself, but I think one thing I appreciate is she's still herself. I don't ever like to see people become something they're not, trying to chase a dream, and I hope if we ever one day get to maybe monetization or, you know, above and beyond all the goals that I really want or wanna try, I still wanna remain who I am. I don't want to let anybody change me just because they're saying things, and I can see how it is. I have to be a I have to even be, you know, aware of what I'm saying on social media, how hard I'm judging people that are just normal, everyday human beings, and just realize, like, let's just give people grace, let's be nice, be kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually,
Take
don't be nice, be kind. Yeah.
taking a bit of a page out of my playbook now. You see why
Yeah.
I'm so silent a lot on social media.
Yeah.
Giving
Yeah.
giving people grace,
Yeah.
everybody don't have the same situation and upbringing, and like I said, when it's in a situation where there's a work situation, I still feel like being direct and being honest is the best policy, but that doesn't
Right.
mean you don't have to show grace and love as well, so combining the
Mhm.
2, leadership with love, but with truth and with honesty.
Mhm, and leading with influence too, because a lot of times if you're doing the work, that will help other people do it too. You can't be
Absolutely.
telling people, "Hey, you need to do this and that," but you won't get off your butt. So,
Absolutely.
another thing I'm listening to is Abbott Elementary. It's back.
Is it back?
It's back,
Oh,
guys.
yay. Okay, I gotta get into it.
Yeah, so it's a really good first episode. Feel like Janine kind of reverting back to her old ways. I would say everybody has their favorites. Ava is mine. I feel like I am Ava, except for I'm good at my job. But she's getting better. She's getting better. But yeah, that's who I relate the most to. a lot of people say they see me as Janine, and I was like, "Dang, maybe I'm fake as hell," because I'm definitely not trying to get him off like that vibe. She gets on my nerves so bad sometimes, but I'm starting to love her more as she let go of always thinking that it has to be one way. She's becoming more, likable and a better teacher, so I pretty much like everybody on the show, but I do have my favorites too.
I love that show.
Yeah, I do too. It's not realistic in some aspects of education, but in a lot of them, it really is, so that's good to see. Anything you're listening to right now?
Not at the moment. We have been watching a series kinda slowly because I think it's 5 seasons in and we really just started, but it's A Place Called Home on
Okay.
Plum. It's pretty good, actually. I didn't know that we would get into it the way we have, but it's telling a story and it's taking a while, and so we're just kinda slowly watching it, but it's
Mhm.
about a lady named Sarah who is in Austria. It's Austria, I think. Post World War II, she lost her husband and she's Jewish. And there's so
Oh,
many
yeah.
different rules about who can marry who. And, it's about if you have money, you shouldn't be falling in love with this person and that person. There's a grandma in the family who's very controlling and driving everybody away because she's trying to control the whole family like chess pieces.
Mhm.
But it's pretty good. It's a good drama to get into. It's A Place Called Home.
Okay, I think you did tell me about that. I need to check that out a little bit. Well, I feel like today was a very good episode. I hope whoever watches it tunes in and kind of share their story if, they need advice or even if they have tools that they've used to get them through a dark place. It would be good to hear and just share because a lot of people are going through it silently. And I think it's the time to speak up. And before we leave, I also want to, go back a little bit about October being Domestic Violence Awareness. And for anybody who might be going through that situation or watching, just please get the help that you need. Reach out. There's a hotline that you can go to. It's 800-799-7233. You also can text it at 88788. So don't be afraid to try to get through that situation if you are in it. I know a lot of people also have Stockholm or and the statistic is it takes almost 7 times before you can actually leave a abusive relationship. So, if you are on time 1, just keep going. Don't stop and get to the other side. But thank you for everybody who's tuning in. Mom, you look great today. We love the silk press. We love the other twists too, but
Shout out to Dominique.
yeah, she looked
Take
like a model. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just
But
wanna tell everybody, take care of mind, body, and soul.
amen to that. All right. Well, you guys have a happy Saturday and enjoy and have a good day. We'll see you next time on We Listen and We Judge.
Thanks for tuning in.